Yes.
So you haven't been able to get your license yet?
No, I have not. But as of right now, I've been 9 months seizure free.
Oh, knocking on wood. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And so you graduated from high school and you are at Tulsa Community College, is that right?
Yes.
Yes. How has that been? What year are you?
I'm going to be a senior this next fall.
Wow. That's awesome. And what have you been studying?
Human services.
Okay. And do you have any career goals or what your plans?
Well, right now, I'm supposed to finish in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And my goals right now is basically just to get my associate.
Yep.
Because that's a big accomplishment.
Absolutely.
With having TSC. And then in the future, if I feel like I need to go back, take more classes to get a bachelor's degree, I'll do that. But right now I'm just focusing on getting my associate's degree and being happy with that. Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. Yeah. So, your daily life with TSC, how has it impacted you, on a daily basis? Do you have to take a lot of meds? Are you close to a clinic? How's your care been overall?
We have to go to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital.
Oh, okay, for that. Yep.
Because when I was transitioning, a lot of the adult doctors here didn't know, they couldn't put two and two together. A lot of them just knew about brain injuries. And one time, my anxiety, of course with TSC comes anxiety.
Yep.
And so it is worse when I'm in school, knowing I have to do this, 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 and this by this day. And a lot of it, when I was younger, they're like, well, maybe it's just panic attacks. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't, my EEG read normal. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, well, maybe she's just having panic attacks, so let's get her on panic attack anxiety med. Yes. Mm-hmm. And that made my anxiety even worse.
Oh, boy. That sucks.
Yeah, so we had to take me off of that, and we went back to the doctor and saw if we could, switch my medications. Uh-huh. But, the seizures kept happening. We weren't really finding any results from doctors. And then that's when Heather Lenz, that lives in Catoosa.
Yeah, Heather.
Told us, well, you all should go check out Le Bonheur. They're amazing. They're sweet. They're there for you 100%. And so we went to Le Bonheur, and it felt like we were right at home since it's a TSC clinic.
Uh-huh. Now, how far is that?
It's about maybe 4 to 6 hours in that range.
That's a long drive, so that's an overnighter, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, so you really got to plan your visits all on one period of time.
Yes. We are actually going there, I think, the first week of June for about 3 days.
Okay.
To get my full workup done again.
Yeah, and you do that is that yearly for you?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And it's too bad there's not one closer, but I'm glad to hear that you're networked with such a good support system there.
Yes.
And how did you get involved with the TS Alliance? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when I was born, my parents knew April Bennett that lives in Bartlesville. Mm-hmm. And before Heather, she was the one that was running the TS Alliance of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so I had just been diagnosed, and their son was diagnosed, I want to say, a year or two before me. And so she was involved with the TSC Alliance of Oklahoma. And, my parents and her started talking, and then we met up, and then they just started talking about, what all goes on with TSC. My parents started, talking with them, what should we do here? What should we do here?
So you started connecting, the whole family kind of started getting connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that's how we kind of got involved with the TS Alliance of Oklahoma. And then now Heather has taken over that role. Uh-huh. But it's just amazing about, how everyone comes together and is there for you, and you don't feel alone.
Absolutely. I encourage my own children to get involved. They're still a little reluctant, but I think they will. And I don't know. I was just so excited to see the young people in D.C. and you marched on Capitol Hill. Now, was that the first time that you did that?
Yes.
Yeah. And how was that? Did you go around? I assume you went around with people because
Yes,
I can't imagine going by yourself.
me and my dad and Heather and her mom all went to DC from Oklahoma, and we met all of our representatives there, Senate and the House.
Mm-hmm.
And the first meeting, I was nervous because, just not knowing really what to expect.
Oh, yeah.
But then after a couple of meetings, I started falling in love, and I loved it. I loved advocating.
You did?
Yes.
That's great.
And I think I was a big part of getting them to sign because they could actually see a grandmother's perspective, a mom's perspective, a dad's perspective, and my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They got to see all the different perspectives of people in their daily life with TS.
Yeah, that's powerful. Really powerful. Yeah.
And everyone from Oklahoma, or the people that could sign, did sign.
That's great. It's great to feel like you're a part of something. I didn't know how that would be. I was really nervous. And yeah, I'm glad I did it. So you plan on doing that again?
Yes, I want to go back.
And tell me a little bit how you got connected with other of your peers in the TSC community.
Well, before I went to the conference in Dallas, I really didn't have any connection with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Because there wasn't really a group, how me and Brianna have created. There wasn't a group on Facebook. So I actually had thought at one point, I might make a group and see if I find anybody. But that didn't work out. So I was just kind of that's also what made me feel isolated, was I had nobody to really talk to around my age.
Absolutely. Nobody going through the same thing.
Yeah.
That you knew of.
Yeah. So I went to the conference and I felt real happy, everyone was there for me. No, I wasn't being judged. I just felt very confident walking around at the conference knowing that these people won't judge me for what I say, what I do, or anything.
Yeah, it had to be a really good moment to feel like now you have this community and you guys have started this. How's the board going, or the group?
It is going good. We have, I want to say, roughly about 23 to 25 members.
That's pretty good.
On our Facebook page. And our group is called TSC Young Adult Connect Group for teens to young adults from 16 to 24, because we wanted to add the teens in there because we wanted to make them feel comfortable when they're transitioning over into young adulthood, so they can kind of see our perspective of how we went through when we were in our teenage years, so that they could talk to us and feel comfortable in it being a safe place for them to come and vent and talk about what they're going through. That's,
ideal. Just to have the range and the transition part. Was the transition hard for you and your family? And when did you do that? Middle school? Start working on the transition process?
Probably, around middle school or early high school years.
And tell me a little bit, okay, so what do you do for fun? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about relationships, so you can tell me a little bit about that if you'd like.
Okay. What I like to do for fun is I like to go to basketball games, softball games, or even just watch any kind of sport on TV.
So you're a sports buff.
Yes. I love sport. But I also played softball in high school. So I love softball and baseball. Those are probably my top sports to watch on TV.
Yeah.
And I played on the high school softball team from about 8th grade to 11th grade. And it really upset me because we have spring practices leading up to our senior year, junior year, or whatever. And during one of our practices, I had 2 seizures.
Oh.
And we were doing our routine, hit to shortstop, hit to the outfield, just throw down type stuff, trying to practice getting the runner out or just getting the ball into the infield. And I was in left field and I kind of blacked out.
Mm.
I don't know if it was a grand mal, but I know I just kind of like lost focus of everything.
Oh, how scary.
And they were hitting the ball, I want to say about 65 miles an hour off the bat. So I really could have got a serious injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that had to be so stressful.
Yes. And then they were like, just go sit down. You can sit in the dugout. Don't worry about practicing. But of course, the competitive side of me was like, I don't want to look like a wimp. And so I sat for a little bit, and then I went to first base where they were starting to do rundowns. And I got to first base, and when it was my turn, it's like I knew what I was supposed to do, but I couldn't control myself because I was in the middle of a seizure.
Oh, boy.
And so everyone was looking at me like, go, like go to second base. But I was like, I was trying to go, but I couldn't.
Interesting. I mean, it's horrible. It sounds like a really horrible experience. I just have never heard it described in that way. Yeah, go on.
So they, were like, okay, you need to go inside, go to the field house. And so a girl that I knew that I was kind of close with took me inside, and she was crying, and she was like, I'm so sorry that this happened. And it's like I knew what was happening, but I couldn't grasp it at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, then about a week later, we had meetings with coaches, like saying, oh, you're going to be on the JV, or you're going to be on varsity, or whatever. And I went in there, and the head coach, who I am like really close with still, said, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to put you out there on the field and you have a seizure during a game.
Yep.
And so they allowed me to still be a part of the team and be a manager my last year.
Oh, that must have been tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, really tough.
I was really upset, but then I came to accept the fact that, hey, I'm still here. Yeah. They're not like saying, get out of here. They're accepting everything that has gone on. And they're just like, okay, you can just be a manager. And just so far from there, it was a rough time.
Yeah, that would be really hard as someone that's into sports to have to, myself personally, to be sidelined like that, especially during high school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. Obviously, you've come through that. How do you cope? What's your process?
Well, I cope by taking baths.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. And when I was in high school, especially, I kind of how sometimes with TS also comes OCD. So I kind of developed that even through high school when, my anxiety was getting worse and worse and worse. And so I started to take probably too many than I should have, but it's what helped me.
There's worse things, I'd say, than baths.
Yes. My parents were like, you need to take it down a notch. But I'm like, this is the thing.
That's the thing.
And then, I would either do that, or I would just come up in my room and get away from everything. My parents just to kind of come back to my full self and not have a big mental breakdown or anything like that. And I'm also bad about picking at my fingers. If I'm at school, if I know there's a big test coming up or anything, I pick at my fingers, and I always tell myself stop.
So like a nervous habit kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see those as the worst coping mechanisms, the baths, and you've thought through it and you're aware. So I see that moving in a positive direction. So, as far as relationships, have you thought about that more as far as dating or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I went to the TSC conference just expecting, just to learn information and connect with people. And I went to the meet and greet, and this was totally unexpected. I had not thinking anything was going to happen. And that's when at the teen and young adult meet and greet, that's when I met Foster. And at first, I didn't really think anything of it just because I was just it's probably nothing's going to happen,
Right. Of course. You're in a new place, new people.
Yeah. And then I got a message from him, not that day,